Alrighty, well, welcome back and welcome to the leadership embodiment piece. How the body's doing? Little after lunch dip, perhaps, going on? Yeah. Like a sleeping meditation, you mean? Yeah. Okay, well, just to get us a little bit more invigorated, let's stand up together and feel into what kind of stretches the body, your body, would like to make, and just go for it for like 1-2 minutes. See what is nice for now. And maybe you can your body can surprise you doing moves that you would normally not orchestrate. Oh yeah, sound is allowed. Oh. Yeah. Just in case you run out of creativity, if you look around, you get so much nice ideas of things you could do. And that'll keep you busy. Ooh. Now, what would you really like to do in the last 10 seconds of this? Alrighty. Okay, so I'm going to start with a brief sitting experience, for us to experience how this works, what this work is about, and then the rest of it will be moving around and helping each other, getting into our patterns and things like that. So, but first, you can just have your attention for yourself. You can have your eyes open or closed. If you have them open, I suggest you look down a little bit so your attention can be on your inner world as well as on the outer world. So one of the principles of embodied leadership is that if we change the underlying energetics of a situation, that the content, our experience of it, tends to change. And so the biology, we use the biology, the posture, the breath, and the focus to change our mind. And what Wendy Palmer always says is if we can't change our minds by our minds alone. If we could have, we would have. And I think that's very true, and we can use our bodies as help to change our state of mind, state of being. So, one way we can experience this sitting in our chairs is by imagining a stressful situation for 10 seconds and noticing our physiological state. And I'll talk you through it in a minute. And then after that, we'll center using a process that's called 4-part centering. And then we bring that same situation back to mind and see if we experience any differences in how we experience it. So we're going to try it now. Imagine a situation that has stressed you in the past days. Doesn't have to be a huge big deal, but just something that was stressful or irritating. What was happening? Just the first thing that comes up is fine. What was happening? What did you see? What was said? How were you standing, sitting? And stop after these 10 seconds. Now I'm going to coach you into a different state. breathe down and let your exhale be twice as long as your inhale. And you hear yourself breathe. And you breathe up the spine, lengthening the neck. And then down the front, letting gravity have your jaws and shoulders a little bit more. In and up, out and down the front. Now imagine the heat radiating off your body, equally as much behind you, off your back, as your front. Left and right, and above and below. And if you had 2% more ease in your body right now, what would that be like? And listen for the answer. Okay, now you bring the same situation that you thought of before back to mind for 10 seconds again. Notice. What does it do to your thoughts, your feelings, breath? Okay, and drop the situation. Now determine for yourself if there was a difference in the experience of the first time and the second time. And can you determine what the difference was, or what kind of differences you experienced? So by changing our physical state, and it can go even faster than we did just now, it can go in one breath or 3 breaths. By changing our physical state, we can change the way we perceive a situation. And as we become better at that, we get more skillful at it, and we can do it faster and more smoothly. And so we can change. We have more choices than just our automatic responses. All right, so I was explaining that part of this work is to get to know our own patterns better. Yes, and that's fun in a way. It's your chance to be more accepting and more compassionate to yourself, and therefore also to other people. It's also sometimes a bit awkward or even scary, or like when we were doing the handshake, I was like, oh my God, I am actually really controlling. Now, of course, I know this, but I try to forget it because it's not something I'm really proud of in myself. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at and working with. What we'll be doing is called partner centering. And first I'll talk you through centering by itself one more time. And then we'll look into the patterns, and we'll help each other access that in an Aikido way, but it's not really smashing each other around. Just slight little touch like that is enough to trigger a pattern. Did you feel something?
Yeah, controlling.
Yeah. For me, inside you. Very controlling, yes. So that's good. And then we also check what do we feel in our body as a response to whatever you're experiencing. Good one. Okay, so we're all standing reasonably centered, so that's nice. I wanna talk us through centering how Wendy teaches it, and it might be slightly different from the centering you're used to from your own practices. So just go with this. Yeah, find out how that works for you. So how it goes is you have your feet like hip width apart, so your hips are slightly smaller than that. Yeah, great. And don't lock your knees like that. Just have them a bit flexible. And what's a key point in this is if you just rock back and forth a little bit, then you will be able to identify the middle of your feet. And then if you found the middle, you go slightly more forward. Not so much forward that these muscles really have to start working to keep you from falling over, but just slightly more on your front of your feet. This gives a more present and ready feeling, and also that's what you radiate then. And then with the breath that we also just practiced, it's when you breathe in, you imagine it going up, and it lengthens the neck. And when it goes out, it goes down the front. And you can even imagine it spiraling into the earth. It's, Wendy always says you have to keep it interesting because the world is like a big, huge flat screen. And so what we can do to not make centering a chore, but an interesting experience, that's useful. So breathe with me, breathe up, lengthening the neck, down the front. And one more time, in and up, out and down the front. So this gives us a straight, strong back and an open and more softer front, which is really nice for interacting with yourself and the world. Also, it might feel a little weird because your body's used to standing, I don't know, like this or like this or like this, if I exaggerate it. So you can play with that and just notice. Okay, so Caroline, can you help me? Can I use you, I was going to say, but that sounds too controlling. So Caroline has done this work before a little bit, so that's nice. I'm going to give her my hands, and she's going to help me get into my pattern. That's actually not so difficult. When we start, she's going to give me a little push like that. It's more important to be fast than to do it really hard. So the fastness is much more important. So go ahead. Right. This sends me into my pattern immediately, and it could even be softer, but we can experiment with that. So now she holds it like that, just to give me the chance to observe my pattern. And so what I notice is my head goes forward like that. I'm just seeing her name tag. That's sort of where my world starts, and then down. And I have tension in my shoulders and in my back leg. And I'm breathing here a little bit, and then there's some sort of tension here in my solar plexus. Okay, well, maybe that was just a coincidence. So let's see. If she does it again, see what happens. All right, yeah, it looks familiar. So maybe I can find more things. Oh yeah, my fingers tend to go in, but not totally like this. And oh, I have my elbows very much towards my body. That's what I notice. And then maybe, do you notice anything else that I didn't mention?
That was a lot already.
Yeah. So if you notice, then you can add a few things, but let the person say it themselves first. Okay, let's see. Let me demonstrate a few other patterns, because they don't all look like mine. So it can also look like this. Yeah, that's one. And these people will call me and say, "It's not happening. There's nothing happening." That's nice. But if you really want to tell me something, could you like have that intention? And you see now she's all of a sudden the aggressive one. See how she's coming after me? She's very aggressive. She just wanted to make a point, but it's my pattern that invites that. Okay, another one? You come and get me, I'll get you first. Yeah. Okay, so there's several forms I just showed you. Do you wanna show yours?
Sure.
Okay, so what do you notice?
I don't let you in.
Mm-hmm.
I hold my back. I keep you at a distance. I didn't move a lot. I'm still standing straight. I have a lot of tension in my arms to hold you at that distance.
Yeah.
I'm not moving in either.
Yeah.
I'm sort of keeping you away from me as much as I can without counteracting.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah, and what I also noticed is it seemed to maybe start from here. Like here's the force that that gives us this, and then you just stay nice and it's almost like
Maybe
nothing happened.
I'm
It's
quite centered
beautiful.
today. Maybe I'm not really out of my.
Well, no, I think this is your pattern. You
Yeah,
just
we've done
because
it before.
what happens a lot is that people have well-developed rational mind. They tend to stay engaged with the head. So instead of going like this, what I do, or going like that, they're just there. But maybe the hips disengage a little bit, or other stuff happens. Yeah. So thank you. So the point is just to get to know these patterns, and if you try it with other people, ask them to help you get into your pattern, you will notice that it's almost always the same. I'm almost sure of that, but please go see that for yourself. And then, as Barrett was pointing out with the chair, since everything's connected, it's not just a physical response. We tend to then start to find out, oh yeah, well, this does say something about my psychology, my patterns in interacting with people. And so you will start to notice this and see how that connects to your personality more. So we take the body and the well, not so intense pressure, but still it's incoming as a symbol for maybe, did you get my email, or the deadline's tomorrow, you know, or I don't know, maybe I really love you and I want to be with you. See, it's not always negative. It can like be whoa, can have a big impact as well. So this little movement like that is a symbol for those kind of events that happen all the time. That's clear? Do you want to try it out? Whoa, yeah. Okay, so you get a partner, and you just do it 2-3 times to check if you what kind of things you notice, and to see if it's really the same, and you shift. The other person does it as well. And you can help each other to find out more things. If you're noticing things that someone's not saying, then you can say, "Oh, it also seems like you have lots of tension here," for instance. The third time you do it, you can try to find the beginning, where it begins. It's like a bonus thing. So could you give me that little push? And if you do it still fast but slower, right. So this is already where it starts, and now even more. Let's find the beginning. Stop. Yeah, so now I can notice, oh, I feel it starting here and here. So that's more subtly, because if he just does it, then I find myself here, and I'm all the way in the pattern already. Thank you. Okay, so find yourself a partner to work with, and try this out, and then at one point I'll ring my bells, and you know it's time to stop.
Find somebody that's in a more dangerous space.
And we need to practice building our capacity to be with it, because it's our humanity. It's who we are as personalities, and it helped you. It was useful at some point. You were shaped in this way. This is who you are on a personality level. Of course, we're much more than that, and we can show much more of that to the world as well. But it's important to not make the mistake. And even now that I'm saying it, some of you will still think that you have to do away with this response. You don't. If you do, you start fighting something that's just there. It works better to notice it and then recover. It's one of the quotes, the power is in the recovery, not in the trying not to have a pattern.
And then what is to recover?
That's what we're going to practice next. Yeah.
The physical response and the mental response, or it's all the same and the mental response is just what you notice in the physical response?
It's not the same, it's connected, but for yourself you can start to see connections. Like if I get into an argument at home with Rick, then now, more often than before, I notice that I also have this physical going for it kind of pattern. But I don't really identify with it when I'm not feeling it. So it's like, oh, I was just trying to help. But I was going like, hey, you're not doing it right. That's not really coming across as being helpful, of course, although I did really thought I was from here a moment ago, and right after I snap out of it as well. So that's the inquiry that you have to do for yourselves. What do you observe about these moments that your awareness tends to go offline, and that's why we practice being aware, especially in those moments.
It's like so strange because I realized that, my reaction was completely what I didn't expect, and it makes sense. Because every time I went into the attack, my knee popped out every time, like what? I'm like, oh my god, I'm really aggressive. But in my way, I tend to be very controlled, so it's like I'm canceling out that initial reaction. If you're in a safe environment, and all the unfortunate partners in this world, they have to take the brunt of it.
Right.
It's strange how you can manage to control that in a professional environment.
Yeah, sometimes you can, and perhaps it's happening, but it's showing up in a slightly different way, and you're not noticing it. Yeah. So maybe in the next week you will notice how it shows up in work. Yeah. Okay, well let's look at now what. So I know my pattern. So except for practicing to being with it, we also get to practice centering from there. Power is in the recovery. So. Caroline? That we just practiced it without a partner, now we're going to practice it with a partner. But first, see, if I try to be centered already and stay centered, yeah, go ahead. See, I'm so centered, and because I practice embodied leadership. Yes, so yes, you have a question. Yes. And the more sensitive of you can notice that perhaps I'm not totally centered and relaxed, even though I'm of course showing my perfect centeredness. So that's not the point. The point is to go ahead, to just allow that pattern for now, for the experiment and the practice, and notice again. Oh yeah, okay, head down. I have this going on, the tension in the leg. Not looking at her anymore, but I'm going to charge if necessary, because I'm a really nice person. And then I practice the centering. What's important there is you take your attention as much as possible off her, and so avoid keeping eye contact, because that's not helpful at this stage. So you take your attention a bit more on yourself, and she's going to just be there and hold the pressure on for me, because I want to be able to center under pressure. So I'm just going to readjust my posture. Oh, I'm standing a little bit too much on the hind leg, so I could just change that, and she's still where she is. Breathing in and up, down and out a couple of times. And then I become aware of this, what we call the field, or you can imagine it as the warmth radiating off your body. Same in front and in your back, right and left, and above and below. And now I just expand that field to include both of us. But I'm still the center of the field. So I'm not going to ellipse onto her with my presence or field. I'm the center, I just extend that a bit. And so if your mind's confused, that's just the practice that you'll be doing and see if you can make it work. And so now it's getting harder and harder for Carolina to keep the pressure up, because we have mirror neurons and we tend to want to get in sync. And so if I give her a lot of tension like that, it's easy for her to also give me tension, and we can have a nice conflict, right? And she doesn't have to generate that by herself. But if I stop doing that, and I center and I become present, then it's much harder for her to keep up the conflict.
It's like there's no point.
Right. So now final step. So first is the breath and the posture, then the field and extending the field. So now she's in my field. And then I pick a point behind her on the wall, and I just extend and you keep holding on. I just extend my fingers there and then drop my arms more. So now she's actually holding me. You can do it more even. And so, yeah, for you it doesn't really matter what. You still want this want to give me a point, even though you're having trouble with it. Yeah. So one more time, if you try to keep the pressure on a bit, right. So it's the turbo version. Now it's the field. And then behind her, just pointing my fingers at that. Now I'm still a bit tense in the shoulders. I just drop that. And now I'm much more centered. And this is okay, I got everything. And now you bring in a little bit more juice or life, or Wendy's teacher calls it, I want to see you're noble, you're awesome, you're shiny. So that's a little bit more of he's Japanese. Noble, awesome, shiny. But that's more the inner juice that you bring after you've done all the moves, because otherwise I'm just like here and so I'm centered. But this is even more present and radiant in a way. Yeah. So now she can give me more pressure. Yeah, go ahead. Just build it slowly. And now I can practice moving that up and out and down and out of my body instead of responding to it. So a bit more. Yeah, like really push on me.
And do weightlifting.
Yeah, now this is really a lot of force for you, right? And I'm just standing on one leg.
Okay.
And it's actually helping me to center more. It's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, so you can try push me over, and if she gets me behind my balance point there, then of course I will have to take a step. Thank you for that. So that's if you feel like, oh yeah, I think I'm quite centered, then you can ask, could you give me a bit more pressure to see if you can stand on one leg? But that's only for the bonus. Otherwise, just focus on the 4 steps. So one more time: pattern, posture, and breath. Imagining your heat radiance field and making it bigger in all directions, including the person who's the troublemaker, who then is not the troublemaker anymore. And finally, you stretch out your fingers to the wall behind them, and then you drop, and then you bring a bit more noble, awesome, shiny. And then your leadership presence, and you can ask, yes, did you have a question? Yeah.
Can you explain what the energetic meaning of this one?
Yeah, it's the the centering is more centering myself, but as a leader or teacher or trainer, we need to be able to be big and be comfortable with, see how my arms tend to want to be smaller. So we practice being comfortable with being shiny and visible, and that can be scary. So the more able you are in staying centered under that condition, the more fun it gets. But in the beginning, when I was doing this exercise, I couldn't really do it. It just was like, and then this person coaching me said, yes, so now more shiny. I don't know, what is that? It's so counter what we're taught taught culturally is don't take up too much space, you know. But if you do it in this way, it's not that I'm taking up the space and now you don't have any space. It's more that we share the space. And so the message that you give as a leader or a teacher, trainer is we're in this together. And that's really the message you want to give.
And does that factor, because I noticed that you did keep the left this way.
Yeah.
Active posture, even though you're centered. But does that say anything about you that even though you're remaining centered, you're still ready to?
It probably says something, but it's also just a form of the exercises. Both have their foot forward. So this, yeah, both have the left foot forward. Yeah. Okay, so enough talking. Just try it out. If you get confused or stuck, just wave at me. I'll come by to help you. And you can coach each other as well, of course.